Welcome to the Online Learning Consortium's workshop for the Quality Scorecard for the Administration of Online Education Programs. My name is Kay Shelton, and I will be your facilitator. Today I will be covering the following topics. I'm going to introduce the scorecard to evaluate the quality of administering online programs. I will explain how it was developed and discuss how to use it for program evaluation using the Quality Scorecard Handbook as a reference guide, and then discuss how it may be used to support strategic planning and continuous improvement. So let's get started. According to literature, quality assurance of educational programs is still one of the greatest challenges in higher education, but it's important that we continue to improve in light of the Spellings Commission, the funding reductions that are now happening, and increased public accountability, as well as it's becoming more competitive to recruit students with boundaries now being removed between state lines. At the same time, many have called for the standards to be more clearly identified. I've listed 10 different articles and studies here on the slide, but I could have listed a lot more. There are rubrics for online courses such as the Quality Matters rubric, but not a rubric or scorecard for an online program that clearly define the standards. Assurance of quality was a concern from the very beginning, with many believing that online teaching and learning was suspect, yet the projected growth is still not slacking off. Online administrators need tools and guidance for assessing their programs to make sure they're meeting standards because we owe that to our students. Quality assessment in higher education is often identified by rankings in the annual U.S. News and World Report, results from the National Survey of Student Engagement, and accreditation requirements and standards. Rice and Taylor in 2003 found that 88% of colleges and universities surveyed affirmed they were engaged in some form of continuous improvement strategy. I bet if we asked that today, it would be near 100%. I found that some institutions have begun to use quality initiatives that businesses use, such as Total Quality Management, the Balanced Scorecard, and the Malcolm Baldrige Award. However, those processes are not specific to online education. I examined many studies, articles, and publications from many groups that suggested various standards and best practices. One of the most commonly used and cited was the Institute for Higher Education Policy study, Quality on the Line, they did in 2000. This identified 24 individual quality indicators chosen to be absolutely essential by various respected online leaders of higher institutions. While the study called each indicator a benchmark, they are, in reality, attributes of an online program to indicate overall quality. They're not measurable against other institutional results. Their study sought to prove that distance learning can be quality learning. Because this report was the most highly referenced in the literature, I wanted to use these 24 indicators as a starting point for the research study. Excellence in online education is a very special interest to me because I've been involved in this for over 13 years, and I fully believe a quality education experience can be delivered to a student either 100 miles or 10,000 miles away. In fact, from the very beginning, my institution was committed to offering quality online education and determined not to skimp just because students were at a distance. But as educators, we need to be able to substantiate that claim. A book that was published in 2005 with George Saltzman at Abilene Christian University. We researched best practices for administrative issues and worked with programs all across the country that were considered successful and excellent. Each chapter of the book focused on a different issue: leadership and strategic planning, policy and operational issues, faculty issues, student issues, technology, and marketing. The final chapter was supposed to address quality, but we spent a long time trying to get our hands around it and finally just ended up tossing it. There was very little in the literature that could guide us as online administrators on our quest. So as I was completing my doctoral work, that thought stayed with me in the back of my mind the whole time. How do we determine quality on some kind of scale that we can all agree upon? I wanted to develop some sort of measuring tool to identify those elements of quality within an online program. I used the Delphi research method to determine what quality standards are relevant to online education programs today and what would be necessary for creating a quality scorecard. The Delphi method was a research process that was first developed in the 1950s by Dalkey and Helmer for the RAND Corporation to be used for forecasting. It's a structured flow of information using a series of systematic surveys and reciprocal feedback used to gain consensus from a panel of experts on the selected topic, with the results being fed back to the panel of experts, and then iterations would occur until the consensus was gained. The study took 18 weeks with 6 different survey rounds to gain consensus on what elements would indicate quality. The panel of experts consisted of online education administrators and higher ed. The sampling frame was a group of experts identified by the Sloan Consortium, which has always been highly respected for its work with quality online education initiatives. They became the gatekeeper to help identify the experts, who needed to have at least 5 years of experience as an online education administrator. I wanted a broad representation from a variety of institutions. 76 experts were identified and invited. 43 completed the very first survey round. More than 83% of the panel members had 9 or more years of experience in the administration of online programs. You can see that 69% had 10 or more years, further strengthened the validity of the study. The sample distribution was very close to what I had hoped, with a variety of institutions represented. We were fortunate to have even a large for-profit school participate in the study, as well as many large public institutions. Actually, I'm providing a list here of the many institutions that participated. I wanted you to take a look and see who was a part of the study. The results of this process were an instrument or a rubric with 9 different areas of quality for a total of 70 indicators. The categories are institutional support, technology support, course development, instructional design, course structure, teaching and learning, faculty support, student support, and evaluation and assessment. In 2014, we updated the scorecard, and now there are 75 quality indicators. The panel also agreed on guidelines for scoring. 0 points equals deficient. The administrator does not observe any indications of the quality standard in place. 1 point equals developing. The administrator has found a slight existence of the quality standard, but difficult to substantiate. Much improvement is still needed in this area. 2 points would equal accomplished. The administrator has found there to be a moderate use and can substantiate the quality standard. Some improvement is still needed in this area. And 3 points would equal exemplary. The administrator has found that the quality standard is being fully implemented, can be fully substantiated, and there is little to no need for improvement in this area. The latest guidelines for scoring, based upon the 2014 instrument, are 90 to 100% would be 202 to 225 points, would equal an exemplary program. 80 to 89%, 180 to 101 points would be an acceptable program. 70 to 79%, or 157 to 179 points, would equal a marginal program. 60 to 69%, or 134 to 156 points, would be an inadequate program, and then anything below 59%, or 133 points, would equal unacceptable. Here is a snapshot of the scorecard for one category, showing each of the 9 indicators for the first category of institutional support. You self-score the program a 1, 2, or 3 in the boxes provided. The scorecard is for measuring and quantifying elements of quality within online programs. It's an easy-to-use tool for online administrators for program evaluation. By evaluating each of the respective quality indicators within the established categories, an online administrator can determine strengths and weaknesses of their program. The identification of the weaknesses can then be used to support program improvement and strategic planning. The scorecard may also be used to demonstrate to your accrediting body elements of quality within the program, as well as an overall level of quality. I want to point out that the Online Learning Consortium has developed an interactive version to use. Your institution must be a member of OLC to access this version of the scorecard. The site allows you to select your score for each quality indicator and provide justification notes and upload artifacts for support, such as organizational charts, faculty training materials, and survey results. Anything you have to substantiate your score. In reality, it helps you create a self-study of the online program. However, the paper version is just fine as well because more importantly is about justifications and artifacts that you have to justify your score. In the interactive scorecard tool, you will see all 9 of the categories. When you click on each of them, the categories expand so that you can see all of the related quality items. The first is institutional support. When you click on each of the quality indicators, a screen will appear that allows you to self-select your score and write up a justification of why you chose the score that you did. In that justification, I would address the artifacts that I would upload for evidence. You can browse and find your file and click and upload it. It will accept text files, Word docs, and PDF files. For example, I would upload an organizational chart and a flow chart that shows decision making. So let's look at the first category. The institutional support category addresses 9 indicators, but for this example, we're going to look at just 4. Governance structure that enables decision making. There are student authentication policies in place. Copyright ownership policy exists for course materials, and that there's somehow a communication of the strategic value of the online education program. To complete the scorecard, you would examine the quality indicator for each category and then read the corresponding pages in the handbook for examples. Based on what you know you can justify, then you choose the 0, 1, 2 points. A 3 would mean that you have met everything stated and you could do very little to improve. 2 would be that you can meet the criterion or most of it but still make some improvements. 1 would be that you could meet some but still have a lot more to do in that area. And then 0 would mean that you have really nothing in any way to demonstrate quality in that area. For each of these indicators, you'll see that I chose a 3 because I believe I can justify each and demonstrate with examples. Here are my justification notes for the first category. I state what we're doing and what artifacts I have attached to prove it. For example, the first indicator was a governance structure for decision making. We had a steering committee and an organizational structure that supported the decision-making process for anything in online education, so I uploaded both of those files to demonstrate that. And that's how you fill out the scorecard. We did have several administrators go through this summer and help with any clarification on the wording. But we want you to let us know if you find something confusing after having read the handbook and then go back to the indicator to score yourself and find if something's confusing, we want you to tell us. So let's look at the institutional support category that has 9 indicators. Here's some examples. There has to be a governance structure for the program that supports very clear decision making. There has to be clear ownership guidelines for the course materials. And the institution must have a process for not only planning, but resource allocation for the program. So after completing the first category, you move to the next area, which is the technology support. This category wants to know, is there a technology plan with security measures in place? Is the technology delivery considered reliable? Is there a process for system task benchmarking for the servers? Is there a central support system available to support the infrastructure? Is online course delivery considered mission critical? If so, then you might have a commitment to 24/7 hour time. Is there a system for backups in place? And is there a system for the development and use of new technology? The course development instructional design category recommends that minimum standards for design and development are in place. So if you're using course standards such as the Quality Matters rubric or the Blackboard Exemplary rubric or the Cal State Chico rubric, you would provide that as a justification and show how you're using those standards. Is technology used as a tool to support learning outcomes, not just there for the bells and whistles? Is there some kind of systematic review of the course materials? Are the courses designed to meet the learning outcomes and are they measurable? Does course design promote faculty and student engagement, and are there usability tests conducted and applied? These are just a few of the examples of the 12 indicators. In the course structure category, it may seem that some are similar to the previous category, but these elements are specific to the course, such as a basic requirement of a syllabus with all the course requirements provided. Is there access to learning resources such as library, writing center, math lab? Are the grading expectations and information for assignment completion provided? Is technical support for the student clearly provided in the course? Are there accessible and usable course materials? Is there possible student-to-student collaboration? Is there a consistent format for course documents and easily accessible? For example, an entire course that's developed in Flash would be a problem for anybody using an iPad, since Apple still won't allow Flash to run properly on its system. In the teaching and learning category, there are indicators that point to the facilitation of student-to-student and faculty-to-student interaction. Are faculty providing helpful feedback? Are effective research methods taught? Is specific library support being provided? And how is instructor presence being demonstrated? In the social and student engagement category, there's only one indicator: student interaction in an online community, but it has to be outside the course, like a Facebook group for online students, or a separate discussion area, or an online commons for them to hang out and interact outside the course. Within the faculty support category are indicators that examine the provision of technical assistance for both course development and teaching. Is there training and support offered? Do faculty understand fair use, ethical issues, and guidelines for plagiarism? Is there ongoing professional development provided? What about standards for engagement? For example, are faculty required to respond to a student's question within 48 hours? Are they responsible on the weekend? Are workshops provided for faculty to use emerging technologies? The student support category has the most quality indicators. Does the program make the students aware of the motivation necessary to be successful online? Are minimal technology and skill standards provided before they enroll? Is there clear program information provided? How about training for library materials? One way is to have an online course shelf full of tutorials and resources and access to the databases. Technical assistance should be provided. If you're providing it 24/7, then you would probably score a 3 on that indicator. Is there a process for student questions to be answered or feedback collected on the program? Are counseling services provided? Support services such as advising, financial aid, and payment services must be provided. The final category is evaluation and assessment. It examines how a program is evaluated with specific standards in place. Is there a variety of data, for example, being captured that shows continual improvement? Is student feedback reviewed? There should be a clear process for the evaluation of learning outcomes and alignment to the curriculum, support services, retention in both the course and the program, faculty performance, student recruitment, and the support service provided for students with disabilities. So now let's look at it for strategic planning purposes. I want to point out that a long time before I began my research, the OLC had developed their own quality framework of 5 pillars: learning, faculty, students, scale, and access. The OLC 5 pillars of quality are for institutions to measure progress towards goals they set in the areas of learning effectiveness, access, faculty and student satisfaction, and scale. The quality standards for the scorecard clearly align with the OLC framework of quality, as every indicator falls within one of these 5 pillars. So why bother with this process if it's going to take time in trying to figure out what your justifications are and what artifacts you're going to be able to use? If you take the time to use this scorecard, it becomes, in reality, a self-study of your online program that could then be reviewed by your accreditor. But you'd want to be able to be sure that you've developed justifications for each score and have the documentation ready to show. The scorecard will support strategic planning because any indicator that you cannot score 3 points on, you should write an improvement strategy. Therefore, it helps me with strategic planning because I'm able to show continuous improvement and how I'm working towards those goals. It's part of my overall assessment each year for my SACS report. I know that North Central is also aware of the scorecard, and it showed it to its reviewers this. I tried to think of potential questions that I could answer, so let me address those now. How is this different from Quality Matters? Quality Matters is a course rubric. This rubric or scorecard examines the entire online education program. Can I use the scorecard freely without constraints? The scorecard is free to use, but to use the interactive scorecard on the website, you must be an OLC institutional member. What if I already have a list of standards that I use? The scorecard should mesh with other standards easily, such as the regional accreditors, and of course the OLC pillars of quality aligned easily. Can you give the scorecard to others? Absolutely. Share this link or point them to the Sloan site, as well as I'm going to have the PDF file for you in the workshop. If you use the online version, will your information be private or public? It will remain private at all times. It will never be shared. Why is the scorecard input-based and not output? The scorecard offers broad goals for outputs, but focuses on things administrators can influence. It will incorporate outputs such as results for faculty evaluation and student retention. The identification of quality online education programs satisfies a great need in our field, and it's been requested by online ed administrators as a tool for program improvement. The assessment of quality online education has never been more important as competition continues to increase and students all over the world are clicking to find a respectable degree program. Quality online education really does matter as the ultimate impact is to our students.